Mexico City out there. So.
I think it's inevitable that you're going to have an awful lot more of these mega cities. I mean, just look at China. Cities of 10 million people are just not a big deal there anymore. And this biggest city in the United States is 8.4 million. It's New York City. It's a great challenge. But the good news is that at the city level, city governments, city mayors understand the problem. I chair a group called the C40. It's 40-odd cities where we share best practices and about environmental challenges that we all face. And some it's reducing pollution, some it's trying to reduce the congestion in the streets, some it's building housing. But all of these cities are starting to understand that it's the air they breathe and the water they drink and their effect on the economy today. When you worry about the environment 50 years down the road, most people just can't fathom that. When you talk about oceans rising, they just don't believe it. You know, the tide goes out and they say, look, there's lots of sand. The fact that it comes in a little higher each day, they can't measure that. But they do know that they're coughing. They do know that their children are going to hospitals with asthma attacks more than ever before. One of the things we did in New York City is we plotted where children who show up at the emergency rooms with asthma attacks live on a map of the city. And it's fascinating. They live right down these main highways that go across the city with all the truck traffic that are just chock-a-block with cars all day long. There's just no question what's happening. And I think one of the most encouraging things, I was in Sao Paulo for a C40 conference, and there were a number of mayors from China who had come there. Now, mayors from China probably didn't come without the acquiescence, at least, and maybe even the encouragement of the central government. And what you're seeing in China is, for the first time, they're realizing, while the economic miracle that took 150 million people from $1 a day into middle class certainly benefited society there, but it also had enormous environmental consequences. And for the first time, they're starting to acknowledge those, something that I don't think 5 or 10 years ago you could do. The 150 million people there want clean rivers, they want clean air. And we all know, you go to Beijing and there are days you can't see 2 blocks. You look at some of the rivers, you just don't want to drink the water from them. Governments are very responsive to the wishes of their people, no matter what kind of government they have. And I think you're going to see China leading the ways in an awful lot of the environmental initiatives. But it's all going to be done around this world at the city level. Federal governments, national governments, regional governments just can't seem to get their act together and focus on the real world problems that mayors and city governments have to. We had a mayor who preceded me a number of years, Fiorello LaGuardia. And LaGuardia said, there's no Republican or Democratic way to pick up the garbage. And that, you know, New York City is not a partisan city. It's overwhelmingly Democratic, incidentally. But it is a city that tries to elect people who can do the job. And that's very different than you see our government at a national level. Our president is struggling with a Congress that's very divided. And the president is really working very hard, and hopefully he succeeds in pulling them together. But that's not where you're going to find leadership in facing the environmental issues in America. That's not where you're going to find leadership in facing the crime problems that the country has. That's not where you're going to find leadership in opening our borders to more immigrants, which we desperately need. And that's not where you're going to find good fiscal policy. It is at the level where you pick up the garbage, if you will. The mayors of the city have to answer for the crime rate. They have to answer for the kids not getting an education. They have to answer for jobs not being there. They have to answer for people not having places to go and relax. They have to answer for a whole host of things that at a more macro level, it just sort of all gets mixed together and nothing ever gets done.
So Mayor Bloomberg, I think you've confirmed to all of us, with all your descriptions of what New York City has accomplished, that he's fully deserving for the prize this year. You can talk about the performance, you can talk about the planning, the vision, But what I would take away, by the way, and I'm glad that we went to visit your city, as you know, was a walk that we took with Jeanette Sadek Khan in Broadway, and she showed us the area that had been closed off for traffic for people to walk. And she told me a story. She said, you know, when they announced they're going to close Broadway to traffic, there was a ferocious outburst and everyone attacked Jeanette Sadek Khan. And her brother said to her, please, you're destroying our family name by closing down Broadway. What are you doing? But I'm glad she and you persisted, and the population then became very happy after that.
Let me say one thing. I think that is a good example. This was a guy, Ed Leverett, the professor at the Harvard Business School, and he wrote a great paper called Marketing Myopia. And he talked about people not understanding what they were really doing. They thought they had, their job was to deliver a process rather than to deliver a solution. And if you think about it, the basic form of transportation that we have in this world is walking. And there's no reason why streets have to be devoted just to automobiles, or even to automobiles at all. There are lots of ways of getting around, and if a Department of Transportation starts thinking about their mission is how you get people to be able to go where they want to go safely and efficiently and economically, rather than just satisfy the narrow interests of any one type of transportation, even feet, we have to have for everything, then you really can change the world. And those kinds of thoughts, that vision, that willingness to expand your thinking about the mission rather than the process is what will differentiate those companies and those governments and cities, the successful from the unsuccessful.
Yeah, you can see this is why they're so great. So please join me once again in